The story begins in the middle of the ocean, where a group of massive orca whales are peacefully swimming together. They leap through the water and enjoy the freedom of their lives in the open sea. Everything feels calm and beautiful, but suddenly, danger starts closing in on them. From a distance, a hunting ship spots the whales moving across the water. A few men quickly lower a small boat into the sea and begin chasing the pod with a giant net stretched behind them. The whales try to stay together and protect one another, but they become helpless against the huge trap created by the humans. In the chaos, one young orca gets caught inside the net. The other whales try to help, but fail. And in the end, they are forced to leave the little whale behind and disappear into the ocean. The captured orca is taken far away from the sea to a marine park in Portland. A few months later, the story introduces us to a boy named Jesse, who lives in the city of Portland. Jesse is an orphan, and life has never been easy for him. One day, he and a few other homeless kids try to collect money from people outside a museum. Somehow, they manage to gather a few dollars, and with that money, they buy a small birthday cake. The cake is tiny, but for them, it becomes the happiest moment they have shared in a long time. Later, all the kids sit together at a skate park and talk about their difficult lives. They speak about how their parents abandoned them and how they escaped from orphan homes to survive on their own. On the outside, they pretend to be fearless, but deep inside, their pain is impossible to hide. Just then, a police car suddenly arrives near the park. The children panic the moment they see the police and start running in different directions. Jesse and his friend Perry quickly hide inside an old storage building connected to a water park. They believe it is the perfect place to escape from the police. Inside, the entire place feels dark, silent, and abandoned. To pass the time, the two boys begin painting pictures on the walls with spray paint. Everything seems normal for a moment. But then Jesse suddenly hears a strange sound coming from behind a giant glass wall. At that exact moment, lightning flashes brightly across the sky. And in that brief flash, Jesse sees a massive shadow moving behind the glass. It looks like some kind of terrifying sea monster. The sight scares Jesse badly, and he immediately runs out of the building. But after a little while, Jesse's fear slowly begins turning into curiosity. Gathering some courage, he walks back toward the glass and carefully looks inside again. That is when he finally discovers the truth. It was not a sea monster at all, but a giant orca whale, the same whale that had been captured from the ocean a few months earlier. The whale swims alone inside a huge tank, trapped behind thick glass walls. Jesse has never seen something so massive and beautiful from this close before. The whale moves slowly through the water, but deep sadness can clearly be seen in its eyes. In that moment, Jesse feels like he and the whale are somehow the same. Both of them are alone. Both were separated from their families, and both have been taken away from the world they truly belong to. For the first time in his life, Jesse feels a strange connection with someone, but suddenly, the sound of police sirens echoes from outside. Jesse quickly tries to escape from the building, but this time, luck is not on his side. The police finally catch him. The next morning, Jesse is taken to the child welfare office. There, an officer named Dwight looks completely frustrated with him. Scolding Jesse, he says he is tired of all the trouble and chaos Jesse keeps creating. As punishment for painting on the warehouse walls, Jesse is ordered to return to the same water park and clean the glass around the whale tank. If he refuses to do it, his case will be sent straight to juvenile court. But after that, Dwight gives him another unexpected piece of news. He tells Jesse that a married couple has agreed to adopt him. Their names are Glenn and Annie Greenwood. However, Jesse shows no interest in hearing any of it. Deep inside, he still thinks only about his real mother. Even now, he believes that one day she will return and take him back with her. That is when Dwight tells him a painful truth. He says that no one has heard anything about his mother for the last 6 years. It is finally time for Jesse to let go of those old hopes and give this new family a chance. A few hours later, Dwight takes Jesse to meet Glenn and Annie. Both of them seem genuinely happy to see him. They warmly welcome him and do their best to make him feel accepted. But Jesse still remains distant and quiet. He neither smiles properly nor speaks openly with anyone. It feels as if he no longer trusts anybody at all. After dinner that night, Glenn and Annie show him his new room. They leave him alone for a while so he can slowly adjust to this unfamiliar home. For the first time in many years, Jesse finally has a peaceful room where he can sleep without fear. After some time, he pulls out a small harmonica from his bag and quietly begins playing it. It is the only thing that still reminds him of his old life. The next morning, Glenn tries to do something nice for Jesse. He gives him a brand new bicycle and then takes him to the water park, where Jesse has to complete his punishment. Once he arrives there, he is told to meet an employee named Randall. Jesse finds him living in a small house near the edge of the ocean. Randall is a calm and quiet man who does not speak very much. Without wasting time, he takes Jesse directly to the giant tank Jesse had painted on earlier. Then he hands him a bucket of water, soap, and a sponge, and tells him to start cleaning. By now, Jesse understands that running away is no longer an option, so he silently begins doing the work. But while cleaning the glass, his eyes keep drifting toward the enormous orca whale inside the tank. He simply cannot cannot stop looking at it. After a while, curiosity pulls him closer to the open pool so he can see the whale more clearly. At first, the water remains completely still. It almost feels like nothing is there at all. But suddenly, with a massive splash, the giant whale bursts out of the water. Jesse nearly falls backward in fear. At that moment, Randall quickly rushes over and scolds him. He warns Jesse to stay away from the whale. Randall explains that the orca's name is Willy, and he absolutely hates humans. If someone bothers him too much, he can become dangerous. But strangely, instead of feeling scared, Jesse becomes even more interested in Willy. As the days pass, his attention keeps drifting back toward the lonely whale again and again. One morning, Jesse is cleaning the last bit of paint from the tank walls. After finishing the work, he takes out his harmonica and slowly starts playing a soft tune. Then something happens that he never expected at all. Willy suddenly begins reacting to the sound. The giant whale slowly swims closer to the glass, almost as if he is carefully listening to the music. The sound of the harmonica seems to calm him down completely. Jesse is shocked to see this reaction. A little later, he walks outside near the main pool and plays the harmonica once again. This time, Willy comes even closer to him. For the first time, he does not look angry. Instead, he seems excited and strangely happy. That moment becomes the beginning of a very special bond between them. Soon, Willy even starts playing with Jesse. He jumps high out of the water and creates such a huge splash that everyone standing near the tank gets soaked. Even the marine trainer Ray ends up completely drenched in water. Everyone around starts laughing, but Ray notices something very important. She realizes that Jesse and Willy are actually very similar to each other. Both are intelligent, both struggle to trust humans, and both carry deep loneliness inside them. Because of this, Ray decides to give Jesse a real chance. She asks him to help with Willy's training sessions. Jesse's first job is to select the right fish for Willy's meals. It may seem like a small task, but for Jesse, it means everything, because for the first time, someone has trusted him with something important. But later that same night, Jesse cannot fall asleep. He quietly sneaks out through his bedroom window and returns to the water park once again. Standing beside the pool, he starts playing the harmonica for Willy. Just like before, Willy hears the sound and slowly swims closer to him. But suddenly, Jesse hears footsteps nearby. He panics and quickly tries to hide before anyone sees him. In the darkness, his foot suddenly slips, and he falls straight into the deep pool. Jesse does not know how to swim properly. He begins struggling wildly in the water and slowly starts sinking beneath the surface. Underwater, Willy notices Jesse drowning in the tank, but instead of attacking him, the giant whale immediately swims toward him. Very carefully, Willy uses his head and mouth to push Jesse back up toward the surface and guide him safely to the edge of the pool. Somehow, Jesse manages to grab the side and pull himself out of the water. He coughs heavily for several seconds, but now he is finally safe. When he turns back and looks at Willy, he realizes that this giant whale has just saved his life. Jesse smiles softly and quietly thanks Willy from the bottom of his heart. A few minutes later, Randall arrives at the park. He quickly rushes over to Jesse to make sure he is not hurt, but the thing that shocks him the most is the fact that Willy never attacked Jesse. Nobody had expected something like this to happen. Excitedly, Jesse tells Randall, "Now we're friends." Then he explains that he only came tonight to say goodbye to Willy because his cleaning punishment was almost over. Randall realizes that Jesse truly cares deeply about the whale. At that moment, a new idea comes into his mind. He drives Jesse back home, where Glenn and Annie have already become extremely worried about him. They feared that Jesse had run away once again. Randall tells them everything that happened at the park that night. Then he makes an important decision. He says that if Jesse wants, he can continue working at the water park permanently and help take care of Willy. The moment Jesse hears this, he agrees without even thinking twice. Glenn and Annie also accept the idea, but on one condition. They want Jesse to promise that he will never run away from home again. This time, Jesse has truly started changing. From the bottom of his heart, he gives them his word. The next morning, he happily rides his bicycle toward the park once again. But as soon as he arrives there, he hears something strange. Willy is making loud and painful cries, almost as if he is crying out in fear. Jesse immediately runs toward the tank, and what he sees terrifies him. Willy is trapped inside a giant net. An examiner is trying to perform tests on him. Ray absolutely hates what is happening. She argues that the tank is not the right place for this kind of examination. The entire process is frightening Willy and making him angry, but the park manager Wade only cares about getting the work done. He does not care about Willy's condition at all. Watching all this, Jesse cannot control himself anymore. He quietly sneaks closer and secretly opens the net without telling anyone. The moment the net loosens, Willy instantly breaks free and begins swimming through the water again. Jesse smiles to himself, believing nobody saw what he did, but Randall had witnessed the entire thing. Even so, he does not get angry. Instead, he praises Jesse, because now he is fully convinced that Jesse truly loves Willy. Later, Jesse visits a fish market near the harbor to buy a special fish for Willy. There, he unexpectedly runs into his old friend Perry. Perry tells him that he has started working for a criminal now. He even asks Jesse to run away and join him. Jesse only replies that he will think about it, but deep inside, his heart is already somewhere else. All he really wants is to return to the park and see Willy again. As soon as he reaches the tank, he tosses the fish into the water for Willy. But instead of eating the fish right away, Willy slowly swims closer to Jesse and opens his mouth, almost as if he wants Jesse to feed him by hand. Jesse laughs nervously for a moment. Jokingly, he says, "All right, but don't bite me." Surprisingly, Willy stays completely calm. Jesse slowly places the fish into his mouth, and Willy gently eats it without causing any trouble. This becomes a major turning point in their relationship. Now Jesse finally gathers the courage to touch Willy's head, and Willy allows him to do it. It becomes clear that Willy trusts Jesse more than anyone else in the entire park. When Jesse starts getting ready to leave, Willy tries to stop him. He begins swimming alongside him inside the tank. Then suddenly, Willy starts copying Jesse's movements. When Jesse raises his hands into the air, Willy lifts his fin in the same way. For several moments, the two of them continue playing together like little kids having fun. Standing nearby, Randall watches the entire thing in complete shock. He quickly calls Ray over to show her what is happening. Ray is absolutely stunned by the sight. She realizes that Willy feels safe with Jesse, a level of trust that even she was never able to earn herself. Later, Ray speaks privately with Jesse. She admits that trying to examine Willy without the proper equipment was a huge mistake. Because of that experience, Willy has now become angry with her and no longer trusts her completely. Then Ray reveals another serious problem. She explains that if Willy is supposed to stay healthy and happy, he needs a much larger tank. The tank he currently lives in is far too small for him, but the biggest problem is the park owner, Mr. Dial. He does not care about animals at all. He only cares about money. He will agree to build a new tank only if Willy becomes the park's biggest attraction and starts bringing in more paying visitors. Hearing this, Jesse makes an important decision. He decides that he will help train Willy so the giant whale can become the true star of the entire park. Soon after that, the training sessions officially begin. Ray teaches Jesse how to guide Willy using a small training stick. Every time Willy performs a trick correctly or follows a command, he is rewarded with fish. The rule was simple: do the trick and earn the fish. Meanwhile, Randall also starts teaching Jesse important lessons about life in his own unique way. One day, Randall gives Jesse a book filled with old stories from his tribe's traditions. Inside the book is the story of a warrior named Nootka. According to the legend, Nootka once became lost in the middle of the ocean. To survive, he built a small boat from the trunk of a tree. The shape of that boat looked like a giant creature from the sea. When he placed the boat into the water and prayed to his ancestors, the boat magically transformed into a living being. And the story says that this was how the very first orca whale was born. Jesse becomes deeply fascinated by the story. Later, he even shares the same story with Annie. Slowly, Jesse's heart begins opening up toward her. He no longer stays distant from her the way he used to before. At the same time, Jesse and Willy's friendship continues growing stronger every single day. Jesse now starts teaching Willy new tricks all the time. Almost every day, he brings fresh fish specially for him. During training sessions, he also helps Ray and Randall with their work. But every night, when the entire park becomes silent, Willy makes a long and sorrowful sound. It feels as though he is calling out to someone, perhaps his family somewhere far away in the ocean. Jesse cannot fully understand it, but he slowly begins realizing that Willy is deeply lonely inside and missing something important in his life. Meanwhile, the day of the big performance in front of Mr. Dial is getting closer and closer. Because of this, Jesse and Willy begin practicing harder than ever before. Jesse teaches Willy how to leap high into the air, how to spin through the water, and even how to wave his fin on command. One day, Jesse finally gathers enough courage to climb into the tank himself and sit on Willy's back. The giant orca calmly carries him through the water without any fear. For a moment, it almost feels like the two of them are flying together. After the training session ends, Jesse lovingly praises Willy and gently rubs his tongue. Ray had once told him that it was Willy's favorite spot to be touched. By now, their bond has become stronger than ever before. Later that same day, Jesse rides his bicycle to Glenn's workplace, where he has come to deliver a lunchbox prepared by Annie. While waiting for Glenn to finish his work, Jesse starts looking around the house out of curiosity. That is when his eyes suddenly stop on a family photo hanging on the wall. But then he notices something that deeply touches his heart. In one of the pictures, his own photo is placed right beside Annie's, almost like he truly belongs in their family. Seeing this, Jesse quietly goes silent for a few moments. Then he notices an old photograph of Glenn's mother nearby. Glenn explains that his mother passed away many years ago. Hearing this, this immediately reminds Jesse of his own mother. Deep inside, he still carries the hope that one day she will return and take him away with her. But Glenn gently tries to make him understand the truth. He explains that according to the adoption center, nobody has heard anything about his mother for many years. The moment Jesse hears this, something inside him breaks apart. He starts feeling angry and hurt. To him, it feels like Glenn also has no faith in his mother, just like Dwight never did. Filled with anger and sadness, Jesse grabs his bicycle and rides away from the house into the heavy rain. Glenn and Annie become extremely worried because of him. After some time, Jesse finally returns home again. Both of them ask what happened, but Jesse avoids answering properly. Instead, he coldly says that he probably will not be staying with them for very long anyway. Hearing this makes the atmosphere even more painful. Quietly, Glenn says that maybe adopting Jesse was not the right decision after all. Annie immediately becomes upset hearing those words from him. Meanwhile, Jesse goes to his room, where he discovers a brand new baseball waiting for him. It was a small gift from Glenn and Annie. Jesse is just about to thank them for it when he accidentally overhears Glenn speaking. Glenn says that life used to be much easier for him and Annie before all of this. The moment Jesse hears that, his heart shatters completely. In anger, he grabs the baseball and throws it straight at his bedroom window. Hearing the noise, Glenn and Annie quickly rush into the room, but Jesse refuses to tell them the truth. Instead, he lies and says that he got scared because of their argument downstairs. Now, Glenn begins regretting his words deeply. He apologizes to Jesse and tells him something very important. He says that Jesse is now a part of this family, not just officially, but truly from the heart. Slowly, the tension inside the house finally begins to calm down again. The next morning, as if he wants to fix everything that happened before, Jesse goes back to the market to buy fresh fish for Willy once again. But while returning to the park, he runs into Perry one more time. Perry again offers him a chance to join his gang. He talks about running away together and starting a new life like before. But this time, Jesse refuses immediately, without even thinking twice. He no longer wants to return to that old life anymore. The only thing that truly matters to him now is Willy. Perry leaves the area, and Jesse returns to the park to continue the training sessions. Then finally, the big day arrives. The owner of the park, Mr. Dial, personally comes to sit among the audience and watch the performance. Everyone's eyes remain fixed on Willy. Standing near the tank, Jesse begins giving Willy signals for the tricks. Willy swims upside down, splashes water on command, and within seconds slides out of the tank before jumping back into the water again. The entire crowd is left amazed by the performance. Even Mr. Dial looks extremely impressed. In the end, he finally agrees that Willy is incredibly valuable for the park. Because of that, he approves the construction of a much larger tank for him. For everyone involved, it feels like a huge victory. A few days later, the park organizes a massive public show where Willy becomes the main attraction. That day, the entire stadium is packed with people. Every seat is completely filled with excited visitors. But right from the beginning, something feels strange. Willy looks restless and uncomfortable. There is simply too much noise all around him. People are shouting, clapping, and cheering loudly, and all of it is clearly disturbing him. Ray and Jesse prepare themselves to begin the performance. Ray blows the whistle, and the show officially starts. Jesse gives Willy the signal for the very first trick, but Willy does not even move. Instead, he lets out a long and painful cry. Jesse tries again. He knows how important this show really is. This was the opportunity that could finally give Willy a better life. Yet Willy still refuses to perform any tricks. He only keeps swimming around the tank while repeatedly making sorrowful sounds. Now the audience starts becoming frustrated. Some people even begin booing loudly. Jesse feels embarrassed and heartbroken at the same time, but then the situation suddenly becomes much worse. A few children standing near the tank start banging hard against the glass walls. The loud noise pushes Willy into even greater stress. Suddenly, in anger, he charges straight toward the glass at full speed, and then, crack! The tank glass begins to break apart. Panic instantly spreads everywhere. People scream in fear and start running in every direction. Within seconds, the entire park falls into complete chaos. Meanwhile, Jesse starts believing that everything happened because of him. Filled with anger and sadness, he walks away from the park. Glenn and Annie try to calm him down, but this time Jesse refuses to listen to anyone at all. After some time, even Dwight arrives there and attempts to talk some sense into him, but in anger, Jesse says that he is going to leave everything behind and search for his real mother instead. That is when Dwight finally tells him a painful truth. He says that Jesse's mother abandoned him long ago, and she never came back for him, but Jesse refuses to accept those words and once again runs away from everyone. Several hours later, while sitting alone inside his room, Jesse cannot stop thinking about Willy. He slowly realizes that Willy's cries earlier felt different somehow. It sounded as though he was calling out to someone far away. In the end, Jesse breaks his promise and secretly returns to the park once again. At first, he feels angry at Willy. He believes Willy ruined his own chance at having a better life. But then Jesse climbs onto a ladder near the tank and looks beyond the park walls toward the open ocean. And that is when he finally hears it, the sounds of other orca whales. It was Willy's family, calling out to him from the sea. Now Jesse finally understands everything. This was the reason Willy had been so sad all this time. He missed his family and longed for his freedom. In that moment, Jesse's heart completely breaks apart. He realizes that he cannot keep Willy trapped in captivity forever. But suddenly, voices echo from below near the tank area. Jesse secretly looks down and becomes shocked by what he sees. The park manager and several workers are removing damaged sections from the broken tank. Slowly, more and more water begins draining out at a dangerous speed. They were not trying to repair the tank at all. They were intentionally making the damage even worse. At that moment, Jesse understands the horrifying truth. Those men wanted the tank to collapse, wanted Willy to die, so the park could collect $1 million in insurance money afterward. The discovery terrifies Jesse completely. He immediately runs to Randall's house and tells him everything. Randall personally checks the damage and realizes that the entire thing was planned from the beginning. By now, there is no time left to save the tank anymore. There is only one option left: freeing Willy. Their plan is extremely dangerous. Using a giant crane and a stretcher, they will lift Willy out of the tank, place him onto a trailer, and transport him back to the ocean. Randall instantly agrees to help without hesitation. A little later, Ray also arrives there. She knows that if the park owner discovers the truth, all of them could end up in serious trouble. But even then, she decides to help save Willy. Ray turns on every water pump she can find to fill the tank with extra water so Willy can survive a little longer. Meanwhile, Randall starts preparing the crane equipment. Standing near the water, Jesse softly calls out, "Come on, boy." Slowly, the giant orca swims toward them. Willy trusted Jesse completely, and even this time, he followed his voice without fear. But suddenly, the cracked glass of the tank can no longer handle the pressure. Without warning, water begins bursting out at an incredible speed. Now they had absolutely no time left. Seeing this, Jesse jumps straight into the tank without even thinking. He swims toward Willy and gently starts guiding him toward the stretcher. But the task was far from easy. Willy was enormous, and there was barely enough space inside the tank to move him properly. After a long struggle, they finally managed to position Willy correctly. Jesse quickly tightens the ropes around the stretcher. Meanwhile, Randall starts the crane. Slowly, the giant orca rises into the air and is finally lifted out of the tank. But the hardest part was still ahead of them. Now they somehow had to transport Willy all the way back to the ocean. Jesse immediately runs to Randall's house and brings back his father's truck. Then, with the help of the crane, Willy is placed onto a large trailer and attached to the truck. After that, everyone begins driving through the forest roads toward the sea. But halfway through the journey, their vehicle suddenly stops moving. A huge log is lying across the middle of the road. They try reversing the truck, but the heavy weight causes the wheels to sink deep into the mud. Now they are completely trapped in the middle of nowhere. That is when Jesse suddenly gets an idea. Using the truck's communicator, he sends a message to Glenn and Annie. Meanwhile, Glenn and Annie have already been searching for him everywhere. They had even asked the police for help. Suddenly, Jesse's voice comes through the sheriff's radio. Both of them rush toward his location immediately. When they arrive there, Jesse desperately begs them to help save Willy. Even with all the danger involved, Glenn agrees to help without hesitation. He tells Randall to attach chains to the truck so they can pull it free. In that moment, something changes inside Jesse's heart. For the very first time, he no longer sees Glenn as just a guardian, but as a real father figure. Jesse runs forward and hugs him tightly. Together, they finally pull the truck free and continue heading toward the ocean. But the long journey starts affecting Willy badly. His skin begins drying out, and sunrise is getting closer. That is when Glenn comes up with another idea. They stop at a nearby car wash and spray water over Willy continuously through large hoses so he can stay alive. Eventually, they finally reach the shore of the ocean, but just as they prepare to move forward, Mr. Dial and his men suddenly block their path. He refuses to lose his $1 million insurance money at any cost, but this time, Glenn refuses to back down. He drives the truck straight toward them at full speed. At the very last second, the men panic and jump out of the way. Then Glenn carefully reverses the truck all the way toward the water. The trailer tilts downward, and Willy finally slides back into the ocean. He was free at last, but still extremely weak. Meanwhile, Dial's men try to attack them, but Ray, Randall, and Glenn manage to hold them back. Out in the water, Jesse keeps calling out to Willy, encouraging him to keep moving forward. Slowly, Willy begins regaining his strength and starts swimming again. But then another dangerous problem appears. Two hunting boats spread giant nets across the ocean. Jesse's heart begins pounding with fear. If Willy gets trapped in those nets, everything will be over. Suddenly, Jesse runs toward the shore and climbs onto a huge pile of rocks. Waving his hands, he calls Willy toward him. Willy immediately changes direction and begins swimming toward Jesse instead. But now, one final obstacle stands in front of them, a massive wall of rocks, with the open ocean waiting on the other side. Jesse realizes there is only one way left now. Willy has to perform his final and greatest trick. Standing on the rocks, Jesse raises his hands and slowly repeats the same old prayer Randall once taught him. Willy backs away, gathers all his strength, and then launches himself forward in one enormous leap. The giant orca flies through the air over the towering rocks and crashes safely into the open sea on the other side. Willy had finally returned home. Far away in the ocean, the other orca whales begin swimming toward him. His family was finally together again. Standing on the shore, Jesse watches everything silently. There is sadness in his eyes, but happiness too, because now he understands that true love means setting someone free. He did not just save a whale, he gave his best friend his real world back again. So, what did you think about this movie? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories like this. See you again in the next video.